So you want to play Holy Paladin. Maybe you picked it because you like the fantasy of saving people with blessings, throwing holy magic around, and occasionally smacking mobs in the face with a shield. Or maybe you're just a meta chaser. Or even your group just needed a healer and you thought, how hard can it be? Well, welcome to healing, little Jimmy. Everyone's health bar is now your responsibility. Holy Paladin is a healer, but unlike traditional healers, you don't just stand in the back casting healing spells until everyone is full health. Yes, you do have mana, but the main thing you're playing around is a resource called Holy Power. You can hold up to 5 Holy Power, and if you generate more while already capped, that's extra Holy Power wasted. You build Holy Power with some of your abilities and then you spend it on either healing or damage. That is the core loop. Build Holy Power, spend Holy Power. And this is one of the first important lessons about healing in Mythic Plus. Your job is not only to click on squares, your job is to keep people alive, use your resources properly, help with damage when you can, and use your utility to prevent problems before the run becomes a shit show. As a Holy Paladin, your main Holy Power builders are Holy Shock, Judgment, Holy Light, and Flash of Light. So let's start with the easiest one. Holy Shock is one of your most important buttons because it's instant, it generates Holy Power, and it can be used on either an enemy or an ally. In most situations, you want to use Holy Shock when it's available because instant Holy Power generation is very valuable. If an ally needs healing, you can Holy Shock them. If your group is already healthy, you can Holy Shock an enemy instead and help deal damage. The next builder is Judgment. Judgment is also very simple. You can cast it on an enemy, it deals damage, and it generates Holy Power and also prevents a little bit of damage from that target. And later when we talk about Avenging Wrath, your main cooldown, Judgment becomes even better. Now it's where things get a little bit more interesting. Holy Light and Flash of Light. Holy Light is a casted heal. It's not instant, so you do need time to stand still and actually cast it. Now, why are we talking about Holy Light so much? Because of Infusion of Light. Infusion of Light is a proc that makes Flash of Light much stronger and instant. And this season, that is very important. You can get Infusion of Light from a few places. Holy Shock has a chance to give you Infusion of Light. Then, with the Season 2 tier set, this becomes even more important. Your 2-piece makes Infusion of Light empower Flash of Light by a lot more, which causes your Infusion empowered Flash of Lights become stronger. And with the 4-tier set, Judgment has a chance to give you Infusion of Light, and Holy Light becomes a reliable way to generate Infusion of Light at the cost of more mana because of it. And there's another interaction with Avenging Wrath. Because of the Hand of Divinity talent, when you activate Avenging Wrath, your next 2 Holy Light casts become instant and cost less mana. So during Avenging Wrath, you can use those Holy Light to generate Infusion of Light quickly, which then gives you more empowered Flash of Light healing. Fusion makes Flash of Light one of your strongest quick heals. There is also an extra interaction where Infusion can be used with Judgment for a small mana return. That exists and it's useful to know, but I wouldn't focus on that as a beginner. Now that we know how to build Holy Power, we need to talk about how to spend it. As a Holy Paladin, you have 3 main Holy Power spenders: Word of Glory, Shield of the Righteous, and Light of Dawn. Most of the time, your decision will be between Word of Glory and Shield of the Righteous. Word of Glory is your main single target instant Holy Power heal. If someone needs healing, this is usually where your Holy Power goes to. The second spender is Shield of the Righteous. Shield of the Righteous deals damage to enemies in front of you, and it also gives you some mana back. The third spender is Light of Dawn. Light of Dawn is your group healing Holy Power spender. If only one person is hurt, Word of Glory is usually better. Light of Dawn is when several people are injured at the same time, so you get total more healing out of that Holy Power spender. Before we move away from the basic Holy Power loop, there is one more system we need to talk about: beacons, because it changes how Holy Paladin thinks about healing targets. So, what the hell is a beacon? It's basically a mark you place on an ally. When you directly heal someone else, part of that healing is also copied to your beacon target. So instead of healing your cast target, you're also giving some healing to whoever has your beacon. This is very important because it means Holy Paladin does not always need to directly heal every single person one by one. You can heal one target and your beacon target still gets some value out of it. This is one of the ways Holy Paladin spreads healing through the group. Now, where should you put your beacon? A very common beginner mistake would be to think, well, the tank takes the most damage, so I should put the beacon on the tank. And sometimes that makes sense, but in dungeons, not every tank is the same, and some tanks need more help than others. Some tanks, for example, like Blood Death Knights, are extremely self-sufficient. They can often heal themselves a lot without needing you to constantly spam healing into them. So instead of thinking beacon always go to the tank, I would think about it more like beacon goes to someone who benefits from receiving extra passive healing while I heal other people. A lot of the time that can be a DPS player, because you are probably going to heal the tank anyway when they actually need healing. If you put a beacon on a DPS while you are healing the tank or another party member, that DPS is going to get a little bit extra healing in the background. This reduces pressure off you. This means you don't always need to chase every health bar individually. Now in the talent tree, you will usually have a choice between Beacon of Faith and Beacon of Virtue. Beacon of Faith gives you another permanent beacon, so instead of having one beacon target, you can have two. This makes your healing feel smoother and more passive, because two people are always receiving copied healing while you heal other targets. So if you like a more stable style where your beacons are always there doing the work in the background, Beacon of Faith can feel very comfortable. The other option is Beacon of Virtue. Beacon of Virtue works differently. Instead of giving you another permanent beacon, it gives you temporary beacons to multiple injured allies for a short time. In a Mythic Plus dungeon, it basically means everybody gets a beacon. You get a beacon, you get a beacon, everybody gets a beacon. This is very useful when multiple people are taking damage at the same time, because now your healing can spread through the whole party during that window. So Beacon of Faith is more passive and consistent, Beacon of Virtue is more active and better for group burst healing. And this is important, there is no single correct answer here. Both can work. Some players may prefer one over the other depending on the dungeon, the damage pattern, the group, or just how they personally like to play. Speaking of not knowing where your mistakes are coming from,
and now a word from our sponsor.
Real talk quick sec. You ever feel like you're grinding keys, doing everything your guides tell you, and somehow you're still just not getting better? Yeah, turns out most of the time it's not that you suck, it's that you literally cannot see your own blind spots. Kind of like putting a beacon on a tank every single time because that's what you're always done. That's basically what Overgear's coaching does. An actual experienced player watches your gameplay and tells you exactly where you're bleeding value, instead of you guessing for like 3 or more seasons. If you're sick of trial and error,
the link is in the description, and for the rest of the month, use code VATS12 for 12% off.
Anyway, back to cooldowns. Now that we understand the basics, we can start adding cooldowns. The first cooldown we need to talk about is Avenging Wrath. Avenging Wrath empowers you. It increases your healing, your damage, and your critical strike chance for a short time. It also makes Judgment generate additional holy power, which means your normal rotation starts moving faster. And when you spend holy power during Avenging Wrath, you also get extra value from those spenders. So when should you use Avenging Wrath? When you're first learning dungeons, I would honestly just use it often. Don't be the player who holds Avenging Wrath for like 6 minutes because maybe, possibly, theoretically, something scary might happen later. Just use it. Learn how many times you can use it in a dungeon. Learn what it feels like. Learn how much healing it gives you. And yes, sometimes you will use it, then 30 seconds later, the group gets destroyed and you think, well, maybe I should have saved it. And that's good. That's how you learn. As you get more experienced, you will start recognizing where the dangerous parts of the dungeons are. Then you can start planning. You can say, I know big group damage is coming in the next pull, so I'll hold Avenging Wrath for that. But when you're brand new, the bigger mistake is usually not using your cooldowns at all. Now, depending on your hero talents, you may notice you're not playing with Divine Toll or Holy Prism. If you're playing Lightsmith, Those buttons are replaced by Holy Bulwark and Sacred Weapon. Those are called Holy Armaments, and the button alternates between the two. These are not complicated healing cooldowns where your entire gameplay changes. Think of them more like extra power buttons that you want to use regularly. They give you useful buffs, and they generate holy power. And because they generate holy power, you need to remember the same rule from earlier. Do not overcap. If Holy Bulwark or Sacred Weapon gives you 3 holy power, then you generally want to press them when you are at 2 or fewer holy power. There's also a little bit of a common sense here. If a pool is basically over, the enemies are like at 5% and everybody's fine, you probably don't need to send every cooldown into a pack that's already dead. You can hold it for the next pull and get more value there. Now let's talk about the buttons that save people, because Holy Paladin is not only about normal healing. Sometimes normal healing just isn't enough. Sometimes someone is about to die right now and you need a button that solves the problem immediately. The easiest one to understand is Lay on Hands. Lay on Hands is your biggest single target emergency heal. If one person is about to die and your normal healing is not going to be fast enough, this is the button you press. Now, because Lay on Hands is such a big cooldown, you don't want to waste it. But you also don't want to hold it forever, then watch someone die thinking maybe I'll need it later. The next cooldown is Aura Mastery. Aura Mastery is different because it's not really an emergency heal. Instead, it empowers your aura. As a paladin, you have different auras, but in dungeons and raids, you're usually going to be using Devotion Aura because it reduces damage taken. When you press Aura Mastery with Devotion Aura active, that damage reduction becomes much stronger for a short time. You use it when the whole group is about to take heavy damage or when heavy group damage is already happening and you want to reduce pressure. Now, let's talk about Blessing of Sacrifice. Blessing of Sacrifice is one of your strongest protection tools for another player. You put it on another party member and it reduces the damage they take. But there's a catch. Some of the damage you prevent gets redirected to you. So if you use Blessing of Sacrifice on someone during dangerous damage, you're helping them, but you may also be putting yourself in danger. This is why it has a very strong interaction with Divine Shield. Divine Shield is your personal immunity. When you press Divine Shield, you become immune to all damage for a short time. So if you use Blessing of Sacrifice on someone else and then Divine Shield yourself, you can protect them without taking the redirected damage. This is a very powerful combo. Blessing of Sacrifice can still be used by itself if you are safe and the incoming damage is manageable, but you do not need to sit on it forever just because Divine Shield is not available. But if the damage is very dangerous, pairing Sacrifice with Divine Shield removes the risk to you. The next button is Blessing of Protection. This makes another player immune to physical damage for a short time, which can be incredibly strong. If a DPS player is being hit by a dangerous physical effect, Blessing of Protection can completely save them. But there is one important warning. Do not casually use your Blessing of Protection on the tank, because when you put Blessing of Protection on the tank, enemies may stop attacking them and start attacking the rest of the group instead. So yes, you technically protected the tank, but now the enemies are running around slapping everyone else and the whole party is question mark pinging you. Now, one more mechanic you need to know here is Forbearance. Divine Shield, Blessing of Protection, and Lay on Hands all apply Forbearance. Forbearance prevents that player from benefiting from another one of these major protection effects for a short time. This matters because you cannot really chain all of these buttons together on the same target. For example, if someone just received Lay on Hands, you can't immediately follow it up with Blessing of Protection. The game will not let these major effects stack freely like that. Now that we've covered the main healing buttons and the big emergency tools, let's talk about your utility. This part of the kit is not always about directly healing someone, it's something new healers need to understand. Your job is not to heal damage after it happens. A good healer can also prevent damage, removes problems, and gives the group more room to play. The first utility button I want to mention is Cleanse. Cleanse is your dispel. In World of Warcraft, some debuffs can be removed by healers. There are different types of debuffs: magic, poison, disease, and curse effects. Not every healer can remove every type. As a Holy Paladin, Cleanse remove magic effects, and with improved Cleanse, it can also remove poison and disease effects. This can be extremely important depending on the dungeon, and if there are dangerous poison or disease effects in the dungeon, your Cleanse can become one of the most important buttons you have. And in some seasons like this one, when there are a lot of poisons or disease effects, this button becomes even more valuable. The next utility spell is Blessing of Freedom. Blessing of Freedom removes movement impairing effects from a friendly target. So if someone needs to get out of danger but they're slowed or rooted, Blessing of Freedom can help them, and you may save them without actually casting a heal. This is not something I would focus on before you understand your healing kit, but it's very useful to know it exists. Next, you have Hammer of Justice. This is a single target stun. It can be used to stop an enemy from doing something dangerous or to help control a mob during a pull. Again, this is not part of your basic healing rotation, but as you get more comfortable, using stuns properly is one of the ways you prevent damage before it happens. And finally, Blinding Light. It disorients nearby enemies for a short time. This gives you another way to disrupt or control enemies around you. Like Hammer of Justice, this is not the first thing I would worry about if you're just learning Holy Paladin, but eventually these buttons matter. Now let's talk about talents. This is always a fun section because every time you give people a talent build, someone in the comments will appear 2 weeks later and say, "Oh, this build is outdated." Yes, little Jimmy, that's how patches work. So instead of giving you one build and telling you to never think again, I want to show you how to approach talents properly. Because Holy Paladin has a lot of flexible talent choices. Some talents are basically always going to be taken because they are part of how the spec functions. But other talents can change depending on the dungeon, the key level, the damage patterns, your group, and even your personal preference. A very good example is the beacon choice we already talked about, which is why blindly copying a build can be a problem. Because if you copy a build without understanding why the build is being used, you may end up with talents that technically work, but do not fit what you're actually doing. So here is what I would get used to doing. Go to Warcraft logs, click on dungeons, pick the dungeon you are actually going to run, then filter for Holy Paladin. Look for the key level that is close to what you're doing, and then look at what successful players are using. Don't only look at one player, look at the whole pattern. Are most Holy Paladins using Beacon of Virtue in this dungeon? Are some using Beacon of Faith? Are there talents that almost everyone takes? Are there talents that change from dungeon to dungeon? Now, does this mean you need to spend 40 minutes researching before you do a normal key? No, relax. If you're doing lower keys, your talent build is usually not going to be the thing that's holding you back the most. Your basic gameplay matters more, but as you get more comfortable, learning how to check builds is very useful. Quick recap because I threw a lot at you. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. Build Holy Power with Holy Shock, Judgment, Holy Light, and Flash of Light. And you spend that Holy Power with Word of Glory, Shield of the Righteous, or Light of Dawn. Do not overcap on Holy Power. Beacon goes to whoever benefits the most from passive healing, not automatically the tank. That's Holy Paladin in a nutshell. Everything else is just like kind of refinement. If you got any questions, drop them down in the comments. If this video helped you understand Holy Paladin, like and subscribe for more videos just like this one. And as always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.